Hello everyone, welcome to Dice on Ice. My name is Megan, and this is episode 19 of the Curse of Strahd campaign that is going on this channel. This episode is called Paths Diverge. Now, if you were here for the last session, things got a little intense, and by little I mean a few people died, a few people uh, met some were people, and so what's happening now is the party went to the Blue Water Inn, which is in Valaki, and they finally got to meet the woman who is known as the Vixen. And they've come to find that the Vixen is planning to start this kind of revolution. She wants to bring down the Baron and this really crazy policies that he has that has turned Valaki into this circus that is so violent and just absolute insanity. And she wants to bring what she thinks is some sort of peace and normalcy to this town. What the players found out was that her and these other rebels are all were people. They range from were ravens, werewolves, um, except they keep a medallion on their neck, that a golden wolf that is meant to stave off their cravings and their desire to shift into their animalistic form. But with the caveat of how the Vixen explained it was, if they take off this necklace, she says it's like a dam being filled with water, and if a crack forms and the dam breaks, you get that rush, that torrent of water that most likely cannot be stopped. So after that, they had a lot to think about. They were to get back to the Vixen within 24 hours before the next evening. Afterwards, they were walking and they were being followed by two men, brothers, that they found out were the sons of the Lady Watcher, one of the nobles in Valaki. These two were not the most charismatic type, and they were sent to give a message, but they did a lot more than that, and they were very intimidating to the group. Very, very, well, they were assholes. And Jean wasn't taking any of it, and so she decided to kill one of the brothers, and a fight ensued, and the two brothers and their two guardsmen ended up dead. They made a pit, they set it on fire, and they left. And they got back to the church, and they were just recovering when Jean fell asleep, and she was met by Strahd and her playing a game of chess. And that's where we're going to pick back up. Jean, you open your eyes after Strahd had warned you not to blink. And you see that you are back surrounded in this church with the others. You've all taken your rest, and you notice that there's obviously a lot of tension in the air. Do you say anything? Do you do anything? Or do you wait for someone else to speak?
to control her temper and she would look at you, John, as you start to speak, and in a voice that you've heard before when we were facing Father Donovich's vampiric son, she just says very softly and very firmly, "Explain."
I meant only to give a warning. And then all of this happened, just cascading dominoes.
A man pushed you, Jean. He was an asshole. He was a bully. I absolutely understand. But a push does not warrant killing. And as she says killing, that teal energy around her hand starts to snarl and crackle. It actually seems to solidify into it almost looks like fire before she takes a breath. And it just slowly dwindles away. We have murdered 4 people because of you.
I think actually Jean would kind of like rise at this. And her retort would be, and if we let one man push us, he will push us again and again and again. Do we want to be a pawn? I am sick of being someone's plaything. I'm sick of not knowing what's going on here. I am sick of everyone else having all of the answers and we have nothing. I'm sick of being lost.
Phil will tilt her head to the side, and these pale green eyes look over to Eli for a moment before they focus back on Jean. And if what Madame Ava said is true, Jean, the Lady Watcher may potentially have one of those answers. But it seems very unlikely, and she actually pushes herself off the door, standing up. Her entire body is rigid. It is very unlikely that she is going to want to speak to us because we have killed both of her sons.
If
this
she
would not have
wished to
happened
speak with
if
us,
you had controlled yourself.
If she wished to be an ally with us, she would not intimidate us in a dark alley with her goons of sons.
They're thugs, Jean. They shoved you like children in a playground. So what? What would they have learned if they continued to follow us? Oh, that we're staying in the church? We were walking away from the one other place that we could have been staying, the Blue Water Tavern. But you apparently could not control yourself enough to avoid killing these men. And now, in addition to Strahd, in addition to the Baron, we have another enemy. And it is entirely your fault.
We had an enemy either way.
We did
now
not.
Now we have an enemy who knows that we are strong. Before, we would have had an enemy who thinks that we are weak.
We have stepped so carefully since we have entered this awful, nightmarish city. And what you did destroyed that. And I am interested, to be totally honest, in exactly where your magic comes from. I've read quite a bit. I'm not especially familiar with those that can manipulate blood. And on top of that, and she actually starts to move closer, just very slow steps. But again, you can tell she is visibly restraining herself from doing anything rash since Eli interposed himself the last time she attempted to slap John. And I'm also very interested in the fact that not long ago, when we were on our way to this very city, before we ran into that disgusting windmill, I asked you and Anatoly, who we'd only just met, if either of you knew Strahd. He said no. You said, "Why do you ask?" And then, unfortunately, the conversation was derailed a bit. So I'm curious, Jean, who are you? What exactly is your intent here, apart from apparently murdering people that push you? To show that you're strong? You're not strong, Jean. You're out of control. And this is coming from me.
I am Jean Duvalet, son of Igor Duvalet. I was the general who fought back the Red Death of my kingdom.
And that justifies murdering 4 people because I am familiar with the twin griffins of the Valley Kingdom. I was a little surprised to see such an old heraldic symbol on your breastplate, but then you're so full of mysteries, Jean. You manipulate blood. You have this ancient heraldic symbol on your breastplate. You have strange bandages across your chest. I personally, I don't know about you, Eli, but I personally am rather tired of the mysterious stranger cliche. I've seen it in enough plays and enough mummers performances to grow a bit tired of it. Sometimes the mysterious stranger is a hero that's come to help our allies, but 7 times out of 10, the mysterious stranger is a villain that stabs the heroes in the back during the 3rd act. Which one are you, Jean?
I plan to stab someone, just not in their back.
Well, you've already stabbed one person and killed them too.
He had it coming.
He did
I'm
not.
curious. I'm just wondering. And Eli has been sitting on the edge of the bed this whole time. You'd hear the soft clicking of manipulating the pieces of his firearm as he's cleaning it. The 6 shells, 6 bullets lying next to him on the bed. And he's just starting to, one at a time, push those 6 shells into the now clean, righteous indignation. I'm just curious. You'll just have to bear with me for a moment. So I'm not a noble person. I don't come from a noble house in Daggerford, and I'm never fought in any wars other than personal battles. But just wondering if either of you have ever had much experience hunting. Now, I'm not talking about hunting the hearts and the wild hearts in the forest. I'm not talking about going after some wild boars or trying to catch the mighty stag. Have you ever hunted more dangerous prey, monsters?
No.
Simple yes or no.
No.
Yes, Jean would say.
I've spent my fair share of the last couple of years hunting various monsters. I briefly took a foray into a cave that went on for several days and found myself in a place that I've heard tell they call it the Underdark. Now, I was just in the very beginnings of the Underdark, but let me tell you, the things that you'll find under this earth are pretty frightening things. They got these large hook-beaked, hook-clawed creatures that the locals call hook horrors.
Creative.
And yeah, well, they call them like they see them, I guess. Can't say as I'd come up with a much better name. But that's not the point. If you'll bear with my rambling for a few moments more. One of the things I found interesting when encountering a group of hook horrors. Now, they never travel in more than 2, 3, 4 at a time. Not unlike us. I find that they're very dangerous creatures. You get in and amongst them, and one of them, meaning maybe only to give you a warning, could rip your belly open and spill your entrails with barely a thought. So I try not to get within range of them. Instead, without them knowing you're there, you wait until one of them's got its back to the others. Then you pop it with a crossbow. It don't know what a crossbow is. It just knows that something behind it hit it. Next thing you know, you got 3, 4 hook horrors tearing one another apart. Well, you sit back and you watch. Maybe 1 or 2's left over, and then you go in and you pick them off. Now, I know by this point you're asking yourself, well, what's old Eli rambling about this time? It's not a river.
Surprise.
It's a story about hook horrors. But the reason I tell that story is I was suddenly reminded of that as I listened to the two of you conversate. Kind of reminded me of somebody out on the outskirts, not quite sure. We don't quite know where they are. The way I see it, they just punked a crossbow in one of our asses and they got us tearing at each other. They're waiting for us to tear each other down until only 1 or 2's left. If they're watching right now, they're thinking, wow, this is working. Thump. So I just want you to keep that in mind before you go ripping each other's throats out completely. I'm not saying I'm taking sides with either one of you. Both of you is right and both of you is wrong. But I was involved in that situation too.
I don't see how wishing and thinking that murdering 4 people is a bad, or that we had not murdered 4 people is a bad thing, Eli. And I appreciate the analogy. I haven't read too much about the Underdark, but we are not monsters, I think. And she looks very significantly over at John. We are not animals.
You seem to be arguing to the contrary, though. You seem to be implying that Jean's behavior is rather crude and animalistic.
Very true.
Which is why I was reminded of that story instead. This is where I think either one of you is right and either one of you is wrong. Now, we're in a pretty bad situation, given the outcome. However, Jean's got a point that they may not have left us alone. They may not have been there to deliver a message other than to try to do to us what we did to them.
Even though that's exactly what they did. They delivered a message when things escalated. One of them pushed Jean, and then he actually turned to leave. Talking about shooting a hook horror in the back, Jean, you ripped that man's throat out when his back was turned. They were going away. If they came back at us with swords drawn, we would absolutely defend ourselves. We've done it before. We have fought to defend ourselves, as we did with Father Donovich and his son, and we fought to save people. We saved those children from that windmill. This is the first time where we have, with very, admittedly, there was some provocation, but we have taken 4 lives for no real reason, no real benefit.
We took those lives to defend ourselves, Jean.
From what? Pointedly. From what? From shoving? What were they going to do to us, Jean? They're going to go back to their mother and say, oh, they're staying in St. Andrew's Church. Well, no shit. And if she sent more people, then you know what? Maybe we should go and talk to her, because Eli seems to think that one of the relics that we need to defeat Strahd is potentially in the hands of Lady Watcher.
And we have that information.
How are we going to get it now?
Well, she wasn't going to hand it to us in the first place, was she?
Absolutely.
If she was, she wouldn't strong-arm us in the alley with her whimpering children.
We could have talked to her.
If she wanted to talk, she would have done such a thing.
She did. She sent her sons to deliver. She sent her sons to deliver a message, and you responded by killing them.
I killed one.
They both died, Jean, and that battle never would have happened if you had controlled yourself.
I think that Corla would speak up at this. I'm not going to do her accent because Karen does an amazing job at it, and I will butcher it. So, I don't think that there was any getting out of that alley without that after the one died.
That's very true. But without that death, we could have gotten out of there. And maybe, and she looks to you like, maybe it is because I am noble born, the daughter of a minor nobleman. But even if, let us assume we are very fortunate and Lady Watcher hated her sons. Let's say she despised them. They were drunkards. She hates them. Depending on how many children she has, we have effectively pruned her family's line of succession by 2 male heirs. She is going to be furious. And that is assuming she just hated them and saw them as nothing more as a way to continue her family's lineage. Now they're gone.
If this was such a strong blow to her, why does she open her belly to us like a cat?
Probably because she doesn't know. We put the bodies in a pit and we set them on fire. It's going to take her a few days to figure out probably what happened. Hopefully by then we'll be able to be out of this city. But in the meantime,
do we look like fools?
I don't know, Jean.
Incompetent drunkards.
I don't know, Jean.
And she'll point. You've got clear sorcerer's capabilities. You've got some kind of thunderous contraption. I'm decked in armor from head to toe with weapons of lethal steel. She's got knives that could rip a man's heart out. If she did not know of the consequence of strong arming these obviously not drunkards and buffoons, and Jean's kind of pointing to us, why would she do such a thing? Either A, she's not actually a real noblewoman who cares about her sons in this way, or B, she's an idiot, for this is not the kind of things that I normally see in my courts. If I am being harassed and intimidated by a up-and-comer nobleman who seeks to grab more than he can hold, he would send something a bit more subtle than laughable drunkard sons, whimpering and wishing they could piss all over the world.
Either way, we should have waited for them to make the first move.
They did make the first move.
By shoving you like a child.
They made the first move by saying that we were weaklings. They said it.
I hear you clearing your throat, Eli. Just one moment. So your pride is so precious to you that if I were to, and she actually walks up and takes one finger and just pokes you in the breastplate. If I do that, are you going to break my hand? Are you so vain? Are you so important that your personage cannot be touched?
If I
find that very
a
hard
valid
to believe.
threat to me, then yes, I would retaliate in such a way for you to not be able to strike me again. And she would not strike you back after you poked her in the breastplate. That is the way of those who live. You strike down those who dare take that from you.
Eli, you've been clearing your throat. Please.
I'm finding it quite difficult to get a word in edgewise here.
Sorry, I'm upset. 4 people are dead.
As you've driven that point home repeatedly.
Well, I'm sorry. I am not an adventurer. I am not a whatever you are, Jean. I am not accustomed to murder and death.
I saw it by the thousands as a region.
Good for you. I hope that makes you feel better. And she's going to back away and post up back by the door.
I see I managed to get a word in edgewise. Now, if you don't mind, I have another piece to say. And trust me, this time it will not be a metaphor. It won't be a hunt story. It's going to be fact.
Just remember, Eli, ladies first. Go ahead.
Fact. Jean, you wear your heraldry and your warrior status proudly and boldly, and perhaps a bit too much so in this particular situation.
Agreed.
Fel, you're wearing your naivety very boldly on your sleeve. To say that you are not an adventurer is it's a patent lie at this point. You need to recognize the fact that whether you like it or not, we are on an adventure, and not necessarily the kind where you hear about people frolicking through the Feywild and finding unicorns and treasure and saving maidens and lost wayward princes. But nonetheless, we're on some sort of an adventure, and fates have seemed to throw the 4 of us together. And along the way, apparently a dog and a few others come and go along the way. But like it or not, we are in this together. Now, Jean, I think you need to take a bit more care in the way we approach these situations going forward, as you've done so with today's exception. And actually, the most volatile I've seen you is in this room in these last several minutes.
Correct.
And Fel, I'm about to propose something that, it goes against what you were saying just a few moments ago, and I'm quite certain you're going to have an earful for me as well. And I'd like to hear Corda's thoughts on this and Sean's. I don't think we need to try to get the hell out of Dodge while we wait for the Madam Watcher, the Lady Watcher, whatever her title may be, to learn of the death of her sons, I think we need to go face her. And we're going to tell her what happened to her sons, and we're going to tell her that we're the ones that did it.
Why?
Would you rather face up to that right now and deal with whatever the consequences may be and still potentially be able to get what it is we want? Or do you want to go on the run from yet another unknown entity in this foreign land that, quite frankly, I'm feeling Sean's frustration. I'm tired of not knowing what in the nine hells is going on in this place. It's got me frustrated. I'm trying. I have. In the time I've been with you, I have made realizations about myself and the way I carry myself in this world. And I hear Shantaea's voice calling to me like never before since I left Greenest those years back. But in this world, her voice is but a still small whisper, barely audible, because I keep shooting off my gun, trying to knock out threats that are facing us. There is no goal that will be achieved. There is no forward momentum, nothing to be gained from dwelling on the fact that we killed those men. It's a fact. It happened. They're in a hole in an alley, burnt to ashes because of us, and there's nothing you can do or say and keep repeating it that's going to change that. But we can take ownership of what we've done, and we can take it to the Lady Watcher and see what happens. You can't tell me somebody living in a place like Vallaki doesn't have the constant threat of death staring them down. Half or more of the citizens of this place have to wear strange contraptions to keep them so they're smiling so they can live up to whatever god awful carnival laws are going on in this place. And that's just what we've seen on the surface. I think the key to getting out of here is going to this Lady Watcher and facing the music. But we go in there with Jean's anger at check, with both of your magics at the ready, with righteous indignation and my other armaments at the ready, all of our skills at the ready. Because, like it or not, part of this adventure is we may have to fight our way out. But that's true of everywhere we go in this land. We can't walk down the road at night without running into wolves, strange old ladies living in windmills that decide they want to eat children and rip our throats out all on the same night they invited us in for dinner. We got crazy old ladies selling magical pies. I don't know what the hell's going on in this place. But I think it's going to be easier, and you're going to forgive me, please, for going back to this metaphor, but it's going to be easier to flow with this river.
God's
than
damn
to
it.
swim upstream from it. Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face on that.
Neither could I. I knew it was coming. What about the Baron's dinner? We have to have dinner with him within the next 2 days, or we're going to get kicked out of the city. We still need to discuss what we're going to do about this Society of the Golden Wolf. I guess my main concern is the fact that we already have so much that we need to decide how to handle. And now we have this as well. We are adding problems to our plate. We are adding more difficulties to an already difficult and tense situation. And forgive me, Eli, in my 5 and 20 years of life, I have been outside of Daggerford maybe half a dozen times. And in those half a dozen times, and she looks down at her hands, and the magic that had been wreathing them briefly is gone. I have never actually killed someone before. Even that guardsman that I hit with my quarterstaff, I knocked him unconscious. He was still alive when we set him on fire. I am not used to this. Even when we fought Lady Durst, she was a bloated construct full of maggots and worms. When we fought those, I assume they were hags, those creatures in the windmill, they were monsters, not people. Those were people. They were stupid, arrogant people. But they were people. We burned them, Eli. It feels wrong. For the first time, it feels like we have done something legitimately wrong since we've come here. Not because we didn't know, but because, she looks over to John and then back to you, Eli, because we rose, or actually not rose, we lowered ourselves to the level of those that were trying to intimidate us. And yes, it was intimidation, but you know what you do to thugs and bullies? You shoot them the bird and you move on until you can circle back around and punish them later. You don't kill them. Not unless they draw first.
Eli gets up and walks over to you. So he's close to you and looks up at you. That guilt, that pain you feel, that twinge in your stomach that you're feeling over what we did tonight, you hold on to that. Because that's how you know that you're not a monster. That's how you know that you're still holding on to that thing that, well, the humans say that's what makes them human. They call it their humanity. We've got different words and different languages that means the same thing, but I think what it all means is it's that a sense of self, a sense of pride in being as much as possible living good and noble and right within an otherwise ugly world. And as much as it pains me to say this, knowing how you're feeling right now, because you've got 5 and 20 years. I've got 5 and 80 plus 100. And I'm still learning things every day. And I've killed more than my share. And, yeah, it gets a little easier with time, but there's still that feeling. I don't feel it as strongly as you do, but I feel it. It's there. And I can hold on to that tiny ember of light, of guilt, that I'm still, some part of me is still there, that I haven't fully receded. But you just look around at the world we're in. Jean knows this. I sort of envy Jean in this way. And I look at Jean. You know what kind of horrors exist, not just in this place, but in the world. You've been to war. You've led countless men and women to die and kill and seen atrocities that some of us can't even imagine. So maybe that's why the killing comes a little easier to Sean. The point is, we can't unkill those men. But we can move forward.
We can try to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. And if we are going to continue together as a group, and she looks from you, Eli, very slowly over to you, Jean, I need to know that you will not do that again. I need to know if you know Strahd. No deflections, no distractions, honesty. I trust him, she nods to Eli. I'll be honest, I don't trust you. And I certainly don't trust Corla, and she nods over to Corla. So let's talk.
I think that Jean would find a seat that's nearby. Maybe it's at the edge of the bed. Let us talk.
Do you know Strahd? Have you seen him? Has he seen your face?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Care to elaborate?
Who here in Barovia does not know Strahd? Would be my answer to the first. I have seen him as a devilish apparition in front of me. And I assume, for his eyes were locked on mine, that he saw my face as well.
Did he say anything to you? Have you talked to him?
He says many things, cryptic things. Things that make my body turn sour. Things that make my limbs go rigid, make my brow drip with sweat.
Where does your power come from?
Speak of this. And she'll she'll begin to take off her breastplate. Go ahead, we can ogle. As she takes off the heralded breastplate that she wears. And beneath it are, of course, her clothes, and beneath that is just a bundle of bandages, a deep crimson, almost like a brown, because of the dried blood, that just wrap themselves tightly around her chest. And she'll peel back, I guess, a section of the bandages, and reveal just a gaping hole in her chest.
What is... Are you undead? Yeah, you did, Connor.
Oops.
It's okay. It happens.
I did not mean
You
to
were
say so.
you were in it, man.
That's
You're
where I
all
was like, sorry, in that moment, I was like, wait, Sean's a dude?
That's what I thought too.
No,
I
Sean
was like,
I
wait a
totally
second.
misspoke. If I had said son earlier, I totally meant to say daughter.
Okay.
Jean
That's
is very much
John's John's twin brother genes. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
genes. Yeah.
Are you some
do
sort of undead?
That I do not know. You can feel if you wish.
No, thank you.
Perhaps just listen closely.
Eli gets up close. Eli gets up close and he's actually looking.
Yeah, it's a ghastly necrotic wound in her chest, like a little kind of black vein spiral out of it, like someone with a kind of a deep infection. My heart does not beat.
Megan, could I make some kind of roll to see if I could determine what kind of undead thing Jean is? If fella's read anything about that, I don't know if it'd be like history or Arcana.
Yeah, either history or Arcana.
I am equally okay in both. Well, first roll of the night is poop-tastic. That is an 8.
You... No, you cannot tell what is one from the other or the kind that it is, but from that, you know that Jean is telling the truth.
At least about what she is?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Just in terms of her injury and the fact that her heart does not beat. That is truthful.
So how did this happen exactly? Was it during the Battle of Red Mountain?
Much later then. My memory is quite hazy of the incident. It was here, in this cursed land, where it took place. I only remember being in the forest, baying of wolves. I remember being skewered. And she'll kind of like turn and show that the wound actually goes all the way through her back.
Fell
well.
gags a little bit, just like continue.
And I awoke like any living thing would awake, but with a strange pain in the place of my heart. And it has not healed ever since. I've tried to keep it closed and bandaged full of gauzes and ointments to perhaps mend it, but it lingers. So some scholar, perhaps somewhere, would say, yes, the curse of undeath lives within me.
I've seen undeath. Not only minor undead creatures, but none of them have had even a mote of the spark of life that you show. And I'm kind of peering up, and from my lower vantage point as a dwarf, I'm sort of trying to look up into your chest cavity. Do you actually have a heart?
You probably can't even see that far. It's just kind of too black and just covered with gunk.
Okay.
I mean, you can see your finger in. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Whoa, now.
Hold on a minute.
But like, it looks like it kind of probably goes pretty deep. See into it beyond going under like an operating table and actually removing a lot of the dead tissue.
Can I learn anything, Megan? I rolled a dirty 20 medicine check.
Ooh.
Can I learn anything from that? About the nature of this wound, why it's not healing?
So you are completely right in that this is very odd for Jean to be undead and have this level of awareness. And so you think that there might be something more. It's not just like a common undead. And I think from the something that you notice from this wound and the spidering is that this may perhaps be a process that is undergoing.
What do your dwarf eyes see, Eli?
Yeah, you can see places that are more necrotically injured and less necrotically.
I imagine that somewhere during this conversation, since Sean revealed this wound, after kind of peering into it, Eli sort of goes to the foot of the bed and reaches into his rucksack that's actually a wooden chest and
Damn it.
pulls out a leather bound journal, different than his prayer books, and sort of just starts almost absentmindedly starts sketching, just kind of a crude sketch, but just sketching the sort of like a sort of almost like a silhouette, I guess, a hollow silhouette of Sean, but with more detail around the location of the wound and some of the detail that's visible, and immediately starts making some notes about, how it passes through. And after a few moments, this is unlike anything I've seen in this particular nature. I can't claim to have any outstanding medical training or anything like that. Most of the wounds I've seen have been in things that I've caused them. But I will consult in my prayers, and as I've been growing closer to Shantea, I will continue to seek out what lies there that way that might be of use. But I don't think I need to tell you, Sean, that there's no promises when it comes to you leaning towards the gods, looking for answers to things that trouble us in this mortal life.
Thank you for not treating me as a freak, as I had feared you would.
Well, don't get me wrong, it's pretty damn weird. But no, we've seen enough of you to have other reasons to think that you're a freak than this.
That is fair.
And I sort of chuckles and gives you a kind of that sort of the light tap on the side with the fist, like, hey, I'm just trying to lighten the mood kind of thing. Well, actually, I would turn to Fel. Has your curiosity been abated on this front, at least for the time being?
Almost. She looks to John. What do you want?
I want out of here.
Going to insight check that, just because. That's a much better roll. That is a 19. Does it seem like Jean is telling the truth?
She may be omitting parts of the truth, but she definitely feels, especially with the conversation we had with her earlier, is like this place is grating on her, and you can imagine that it's probably true for she's been here at least like a year or more than you have in this place. So yeah, I think that you sense a bit of honesty there, especially with the calming down of the scene. She has no reason to kind of like rise and get defensive.
Fel will nod slowly. You can put your armor back on if you'd like. One final thing, and then I think we should, if we are all in accord, move on to discussing the issues at hand. Eli mentioned this when he was talking to the Vixen earlier, that we all make our own decisions. No one voice speaks for all of us, not even Eli himself. What happened in that alleyway, that was a choice that was made for all of us, regardless of our consent or lack of consent. I would like some kind of, and it probably won't mean anything because oaths mean very little here, it seems, and even back home, oaths mean very little in my experience. I would like some kind of promise that what happened in that alleyway will not happen again, unless we are attacked or unless we are trying to save innocent lives as we did in the windmill or with Arena.
And I can promise you this, as she's kind of like buckling her armor back on. I wish to discuss with us a bit more of our intentions, what our plans of action, reasoning, so that things that happened tonight will not happen in the way they did through lack of communication, through conflicts of intent and value. For I cannot say that I alone would not do such a thing on my own, while alone in a similar circumstance. I can say that my ears are open, as I wish yours would be as well. So things like this do not happen because one person deems it so, so that something else doesn't happen because another person deems it so. If we are to be a proper unit, we must have our own war table. We must have our own dialogues. Be on the same pages. So that is the promise I can make. With the, of course, accompanying promise of reciprocation of such a thing. Sometimes, as I am the stranger here, as it seems you two know each other better than many others here, that I feel left out in a way, in a sense, a stranger even amongst my own companions here, if I even dare call you companions, which I want to do, for this place is a dreary place to be alone in. So to be such a companion, I wish to be both heard and able to be hearing of your ideas, and plans, and wishes and motives in kind.
Fair enough. And I do agree that seems like for a while we have been two parties in one, you and Carla and myself and Eli, and that should change.
It should. Though saying something and willing it to be is not the same thing as it being.
Very true. I am satisfied. Also, I need to drink. And she's going to go to the little pony keg of Vistani wine that you had laid out before, Eli, when you were like, Fel, you should pour us drinks in the middle of this heated debate. And she actually goes and she opens it up and she just pours a very tall glass for herself and kind of hesitates for a moment. Then she pours a little bit out for Eli and for Jean and for Corla. She takes her own drink, just takes a huge gulp, and then again takes her position by the door, though not nearly as stiff and uncomfortable as she was originally. You can get your own damn drinks.
I think Jean would go to the wine. I think this should be the kind of the last one too. And I think that she would like, as she tastes it, she would be like, "Does this taste foul to you?" Kind of like sniffing up at it.
Quite the opposite. And I'm used to awful Daggerford wine, so.
There's a peculiar taste.
It's Vistani wine.
Maybe you're right. Different vintage of grapes, perhaps. She kind of like barely tolerates the wine as she kind of sips at it.
So, getting back to the matter at hand and looking forward, I'd like to offer a suggestion that we can then discuss and decide as a group how we're going to proceed. As I've already suggested, we should go see the Lady Watcher.
Yes, and tell her that we killed her children.
However, I do not think that we should go to her first.
Wise.
Because depending on how that goes, we might not make it to the Barrens.
Accurate.
So, given that we have a hard timeline on the Baron, I think we need to go talk to him, go to his dinner, hear him out, and then from there we can go and confront the Lady Watcher. Not the only, but a potential downside to that is by the time we do get around to visiting her, she may have already learned of the fate of her sons.
I mean, I imagine it is going to take her some time to figure that out. At the same time, though, even if she is an idiot, she is eventually going to put two and two together. She sent her sons and their bodyguards to find the mysterious strangers that came to Wallachia, and they never came back. I mean, I'm sure she may assume that we had something to do with their disappearance. We should also, because we only have, I think, 24 hours to make up our mind in regards to this, we need to figure out if we want the assistance of this Society of the Golden Wolf pendant as far as what is going to happen after we depose the Baron, potentially. Because I need to send this, and she'll actually reach into her kind of stylish little backpack and pull out the paper bird the Vixen gave her. I need to send this back to the Vixen with our response. So we need to discuss that. Not sure if it's a good idea, to be honest. It seems like for all their fail-safes and safeguards that if one of them decides to take off a little silver bracelet that'll shoot the object into their hearts and kill them, there's nothing really stopping them from embracing the beast within and killing a great number of people. I'm not sure if they're going to be any better than the Baron, though I don't know if they could be any worse. She drinks more.
There's pros and cons to that, to be sure.
True.
I think that Corla would pipe in. I believe we need to kill the Baron. He is a monster. And I think that it is better to deal with a known monster and hope for the best than let it survive and continue to spread his evil and pain and suffering that he is inflicting upon the citizens here.
This is the most talkative you've been, I think, since we've met you, Corla. So this is an interesting change. I agree. My only concern is I would hate for us to make the situation worse. We seem to have a penchant for doing that since we came to Barovia, and I'd rather not have that happen again if we can avoid it. But maybe we can't.
Can we really make a situation worse in Wallachia than it is?
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I do agree. I think we need to get rid of the Baron, but I fear what we will leave behind.
Well, I'm gonna give my 2 coppers on this.
Give a whole silver, Eli.
This Society of Wolves here.
Where people?
I'm not 100% comfortable with the idea of were people, a different form of monster potentially taking charge of the situation. However, having met them, they do seem to have several precautions put into place.
True.
And as dangerous as wolves are, and as we've seen them to be, wolves, as a form of their natural environment, have a hierarchy. They understand how in the organization of a pack, and perhaps Sean, you can appreciate this, and I would imagine in similar fashion to the military, there is somebody that is in charge and the others follow under their command. So in this case, it may be a choosing the lesser evil. But if we were to find ourselves in a position to depose this Baron with no one to fill that void, well, then who knows what is going to fill that void, and we just may see how much worse things could get in Vallaki.
Very true.
That's my 2 coppers worth.
I see it. Though perhaps my perception may be wrong here. We have someone who has tried to subtly declare themselves our enemy, and then now we've said, yes, you are our enemy. Perhaps I said, yes, you are our enemy.
There we go.
I'll concede that, perhaps. We have someone who
It's very generous of you.
properly wishes to be our ally in this affair.
True.
I do not wish to be pawns of these society of werewolves. Yet they have reasons, I imagine, want to change the status quo. So do we, in a sense. We seek something that the Lady Watcher wants. Perhaps she's not willing to give it to us through diplomacy, though I didn't really imagine that scenario was on the table to begin with. So I instead imagine we can make a bargain or a trade or a favor for a favor with these were people. We can see how the evils of this Baron have plagued these lands, and so it does not seem a bit wrong to try and depose of him, as we've discussed. But also, if we do that with nothing in return, then we are just things to be used by someone else at a higher standing. If we ask them for our aid against Lady Watcher, perhaps we can see that we own that relic ourselves.
That is assuming it is an item that Madame Ava is tried to point us to, but that's a fair point. A favor for a favor. I'm not opposed to doing that, if it is acceptable to everyone else. Carla, you were so talkative a moment ago. Weigh in.
Corla, as long as the Baron is dead.
What do you say, Eli?
This sounds like a plan, which, quite frankly, is something we've not really had before.
That's very true. We're learning. Look at that. Maybe it's the wine. All right. What time is it right now, Megan, in game? It was evening when we left, right?
Yeah, so I would say you guys have probably been speaking. It's probably early morning, like in the wee hours.
Oh, wow. Well, I think we should get some rest, and then I will I will send the paper bird to the vixen with our terms, I suppose, and then we can figure out how we're going to approach this. And she'll look to Eli as Jake, who has stepped away, just say, if you have a moment before you go to sleep, I wanted to talk to you about something. And she'll look to Jean and Corlett, nothing major, just wanted to talk to them about something. But other than that, I think we should go to sleep, and then we will face today, I guess. Just kind of look out one of the windows, see the sunlight streaming in. Gods, we've been up way too long.
So what, in your letter, what exactly, are you revealing everything that you want?
No.
Yeah,
No.
I was just going to ask, what
Fel
are you
Fel
saying?
is a cagey lady. She's just going to say, this is probably a random question, but I'm gonna put you on the spot, Megan. So the Baron, what kind of animal does he look like, would you say? Like if you had to compare him to animals, like a pig or a pug or some other animal that starts with P, ends with G? I don't know. Like a toad? Like if you, just
yeah,
randomly, if you had to describe.
Sure. I would say probably like a weasel.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. So she will write, she'll just put, to our friends, we will help you with your large weasel problem. In exchange, we need you to help us retrieve something from the Watcher. And then she will just sign it F, I guess.
And okay, awesome. Do you whisper? Do you send it off?
I think.
Or?
So, are you writing it, or are you like speaking into it?
Let me see, because honestly, I think Paper Bird is an Eberron thing. So let me see.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
think you write
Waterdeep
it.
thing.
Oh, it
I
is.
think
You write
that,
you write on it. You just whisper the name of the person
Gotcha.
you want.
Okay.
To.
Yeah, and she would do this in the room with everybody too.
Okay,
so
cool.
if you want to chip in,
if Jean is privy to the writing process, she's like, I'm not sure it's apt to use an animal metaphor here with these people.
I mean, I also don't want to say it's the Baron we're talking about in case this thing gets intercepted by somebody. I think they'll maybe change large to important. Your important weasel problem.
Well, I mean,
I could put the weasel in quotation marks.
I mean, you did write that in ink.
I know, but the funny thing is, you can scratch ink out and write other things over, like above.
I have reservations of using an animal metaphor.
What would you suggest, Sean? What should we say instead?
Perhaps it is merely just a problem they're having.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, and she'll scratch out the weasel part and just say, we will assist you with your problem if you help us take something from the Watcher B, or F, excuse me, and that'll be it. And then she'll speak the Vixen's name unless anybody else has any other addendums, any other critiques. Everyone's a critic.
So you whisper the name of the Vixen, and immediately you're holding this piece of paper, and immediately it begins to fold itself.
Oh, that's incredible.
Right in your hand, it folds itself over and over and over again until it looks like a bird, a very ornate looking bird, and it immediately flies off.
Well, I suppose there are worse ways to start a potential revolution. Eli, just a moment of your time. We can talk in the main area or here. My room doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to sleep.
I'll escort you back to your room.
Thank you. And she'll look to you, Jean. Thank you as well for being honest, I suppose. Right. And then she will go.
All right.
Yeah, I think Corla would leave to go to her room for the night. Jean, would you also leave, or you gonna stay in Eli's room?
I'm not gonna stay in
Weird.
I'm gonna make sure that any scrap necrotic bandages aren't on the floor or on the bed sheet or whatever for Eli to have to pick at. So just she'll kind of clean that up a bit.
So conscientious.
and tidy up the wine glasses that probably fell left around.
Whoa. Fel still has her glass. She's not letting that go anywhere.
Basically, yeah, just to kind of tidy things up a little bit and then leave. Go to her chambers, I guess.
And once they're at the door to Fel's chambers, Fel will just say, would you mind coming in? Is that too presumptuous? I don't want to be too forward or anything, but...
No, that's fine.
All right. She opens the door and steps inside, and then she closes the door behind you. How do you think that went?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think it went a lot better than it could have gone.
Yes, that's you have a very sort of narrow eyes and look at you. You have a weirdly calming presence for a former monster hunter / former priest, I suppose. Maybe it is your clerical training, but I think if you weren't there, things would have gone very differently, and not for the better. I'm still not sure we did the right thing, but I think you're right. It went much better than it potentially could have.
It did, and I think it's good that you pressed Sean. I'm glad I was there to keep you from pressing things a little harder than they needed.
You can be very...
As a priest, it was... I was an acolyte of Shantea,
the grain goddess,
the goddess of the harvest, and my flock was farmers and merchants and such. They relate to the metaphors of the field. So I guess as I've been trying to open my ears to her voice, I've kind of slipped into my old parables and metaphors. They come so readily, but the point is, I think you were right to press John, and I think though that John took a very important step in completely revealing herself to us in the way that she did.
Very true.
In my eyes, she has erased any shadow of doubt that may have been there. And I see Sean as nothing but a trusted ally at this point. I've still got a few questions about Corla.
She's very quiet. I feel like she's watching us all the time. It's very disconcerting.
But perhaps in time, Corla will reveal more.
She's got a bloodthirsty streak too. I don't know if you noticed, but she's...
I've noticed.
I'm going to stick my knife into these people. It's like, all right, take it easy there.
She reminds me a lot of a cat. Quiet and unassuming at times, and a vicious predator at other times.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not recommend pressing her in the same way that you pressed on Sean. I think for Corla, we're just gonna have to wait and see how things play out. But
we'll see. I mean, we have enough enemies around us. We don't need enemies in our own group. We don't need vipers in our midst. Or cats. Only dogs. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. And it's an interesting shift, Eli. You see her demeanor change. She it goes from this more conversational sort of tone to she looks visibly nervous, and she's not quite meeting your gaze. She says, so a little bit of a preamble. I'll try to keep it short. So I've been sitting on this for a little bit, and I wanted to thank you for a lot of things. For that calming presence. This is why I think why this group has come to lean on you so much, because you may not make the best decisions all the time, but nobody does, obviously. But you are decisive. You take action, and at the same time, you seem more certain. And she hesitates for a moment, and I know that since we crossed through the mists that I've pretty much been terrified this entire time, but you being around makes me feel a little less scared. And obviously in this situation, in this place, that means a lot. And I suppose, and she's reaching into her bag as she's talking. And I suppose the other thing is you have this way of talking to people like they're people, just normal people. And I, being a nobleman's daughter, there's a bit of a gap, I guess. Even my friends, my few friends amongst the servants in the Daggerford estate, they're very careful about what they say because they don't want any unpopular opinions or word of unpopular opinions getting back to my father, the Duke. So even when I want to have an honest conversation with them, they smile and they nod and they say all the right things, but they're not open like you were about, about Greenest. And I know that was hard for you. And anyway, all of that to say, I got you something. And she pulls out this very familiar actually looking bundle of oilcloth. And you realize, Eli, this is the thing that she was putting into her bag when she was exiting the silversmiths the other day. And she says, so, again, I know you're the one you have now probably has some sort of sentimental significance, but I thought this one might have a slightly lower chance of choking you to death. So here, and she just holds it out. It's when you look at it, it's a little bit larger than her hand, but as you kind of just look at it a little more closely, you realize it's probably just about the right size for you to hold in like one hand, kind of like this. She just holds it out to you.
Is it still wrapped?
Yeah, it's still wrapped.
I think this catches Eli completely off guard.
It better.
And there's this moment where he kind of, he does that thing where he kind of puts his hand behind his neck, like,
it's just a gift. It's not going to bite you. Please take it because this is awkward for me too. It's just,
No, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll open it, unwrap it.
So it is, again, it fits your hand pretty well. It's sort of ridged along the edge. It's like a disc, basically, this thick disc of silver. And it's ridged so you can grip it easily. And there are these two little hooks. They're not sharp. They're more blunt on the top of it so that it looks like it could be hooked onto like a chain or onto like a rope necklace, something like that. And sort of around the border of this item, there are these very detailed carvings of pitchforks and trowels and wheelbarrows full of produce like fruits and vegetables. And in the very center is a sheaf of wheat bound by a length of rope. And you realize that this is a solid silver holy symbol of Shantea.
I think when he opens it, he sort of pulls back the corners of this oilcloth until it's revealed. And there's this moment where he's just staring at it. And all you can see is the top of his head. Him being probably a good couple feet shorter than you.
Probably.
So you can't really read any emotions. And then suddenly, very quickly, almost like as if he suddenly realizes this beautiful item is wrapped in this sort of dirty oilcloth thing. He just quickly moves the cloth away. And he looks up at you, and you see that his eyes are welling with tears. You see that wetness in the eyes, and
Oh, shite! You hate it. Look, so
No.
look, if you return it, I don't know if he'll accept.
He puts a hand. He reaches out for your hand.
But
He takes your hand.
she'll take it.
No, this means more to me than. This is beautiful. This is incredible. And you've evoked a rarity, Felon, that you're leaving me with no words.
It's a nice change. Just kidding. I meant what I said to you that other night. I think we were in the forest. You are the best thing that has come out of this whole awful experience, and I don't do this very often. I don't give gifts, so I'm glad you like it, though.
I do. I can't. Well, I can't rightly. Well, you know what? This is this is perfect. I guess I'm not going to try to force a metaphor or a
Thank you.
platitude in here. This is perfect, and no stories, no nothing. I think I'm feeling the same way, that out of everything that we've been facing, you're quickly becoming that beacon of light that is helping to keep me on the path. I don't know if I would have survived as long in this place as I have without you there, and I think we're all the better for having you being the voice that you are. But the others aside, I know that I'm better for having met you.
She just nods. Thank you, Eli. I don't think anyone's ever actually said that to me, so thank you.
And Eli would sort of he would just sort of take a step forward and almost hesitantly, and then he would hug you. He would put his arms around you, which is a little awkward because I'm
Height
so
difference.
much shorter. Height difference. But he just sort of pulls you in towards him and hugs you. And then very quickly he sort of steps back, and you see that a couple of the tears have actually fallen, and he's clutching that holy symbol. And all of a sudden you see something shift in Eli's face, and he sort of looks around and he looks at you, and it's like he's just suddenly realizing that the two of you are alone in your room, and that you've just had this kind of intimate moment. He's like, well, we've had a rough night and we got a lot ahead of us.
Yep.
Gotta get some rest. I need to go get some rest too. But
I agree. You should do that.
Thank you again for this. And all right. And he's taking steps towards the door, and it's just that every few steps, like, well, rest well, and I'll see you in the. All right. And he just ducks out and leaves.
Phil just stands there for a moment. It's like, that went pretty well, I think. She goes to sleep.
I have a question. I have a question, because I know I had mentioned this last session, But given the timing of everything, I don't know that I actually had the time to do this. Regarding creating the silver coffer from the robe of useful items and silvering some stuff for all of us.
No,
We hadn't
no.
done that yet.
No, you guys have come back and then had this talk, so basically that is where you guys are.
Yeah.
How much time do we have before we're supposed to go visit?
I think it's
A whole day.
two. Oh, a whole day. Okay, got it.
Yep. Because it's early morning, and you've already responded before the evening, which is what she wanted, or what the vixen wanted.
So, I think if you'll allow this, while the others are all going to bed, Eli still has this. Hey, I told everybody I'd do this. And I'm just gonna go to each person and get one item from them. I just like suddenly I'm like, oh hey, Phil, did you want your daggers silvered?
Oh yeah, I only have the one. She'll hand him the
Or
dagger.
your yeah, okay. And then I would go to Corla. I think Corla had a dagger as well.
I think Corla has two,
She has
maybe.
2. Yeah, I believe she has 2 daggers.
All right, 1, 2, 3, and then Sean. I would show up and maybe possibly wake you up. I don't know if you sleep. Sort of, hey, I'm really sorry to interrupt if you were resting, but did you have a particular weapon that you wanted to have silvered?
It's a mighty heavy thing, though. Perhaps you can. And she'll hand you the her war pick.
All right, so that's 4, and then all right, and then what I'll do is I don't know how long you want this to take, but if we basically here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to spend the time. I'm going to pull the patch that produces this coffer worth 500 silver pieces. And I'm going to use whatever tools that I have along with because I do have I have Tinker's tools and whatever I can make use of here at the church to melt this down and silver each of these weapons plus I think that leaves me with 10 pieces of ammunition that I can silver and then for myself and then however long that's going to take, I would then go into a long rest unless somebody wakes me up earlier. I'll take the exhaustion from not getting a full 8-hour sleep.
Because I mean, we don't really have a reason to really wake you up. I don't think because we could go to the Baron the end of this current day.
It's what, like 5, 6 in the morning?
Yeah.
At this point,
wee hours of the morning.
So how long would it take? Do you
I'm-
think? I figure something like this has got to take 3-4 hours at least.
I would say an hour per.
Okay, so about
weapon.
5 hours to do everything,
Yes.
and then so that means that whenever everybody gets up, it's up to Fel and Corla and Sean if they would wake Eli up or let him sleep. But you would find if you did then come to find, well, actually, I should ask Megan before I presume this. Is this something I can do, or do you need me to make some kind of a skill roll?
You know what? No, only because you've already said that you have the expertise. You've made a gun, so I would say silvering a weapon is not too much for you. Others, I would say yes, but I think that because you've already had that established, I would say that you can do it.
You have a gun, you can do anything. I sort of imagine this is knowing nothing about a silvering process. This is a fantasy version of silvering is a matter of just melting it down and then sort of using the right tools to almost like carefully paint it and polish it so that it's plated with this silver. And then I already have the tools that I use for forging my my bullets, and I'm just forging them 10 more out of silver. So if that's the case, then if anybody does come to wake me up, each of you would find when you woke up that your weapon of choice is now silvered. And I believe in D&D Beyond there is a checkbox for your weapon to click whether or not it's silvered. So I'll have to make a note, Megan, for Corla then that she has 2 silver daggers.
I might be able to actually adjust that in D&D Beyond since I have the DM role.
Oh yeah, if you're the
Yeah.
DM in the campaign, you can get into the character sheet.
Yeah, I can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at that!
so-
She has 1 hit point left.
Oh
I
no.
But so then before I click the button here, the question is, will I be able to benefit from a long rest?
I mean, Fell isn't going to wake you up. I don't know if we have the time though. It's kind of up to you, I guess, Megan, and you, Connor.
I'd like to see. I like to think that like Jean kind of stirs a bit early, perhaps, and sees kind of like the handiwork that Eli's done, and probably we can probably hear him snoring. He's probably a loud snorer.
Oh, he's got like one
Snorer.
foot's off the bed. He's still wearing the clothes.
Yeah.
He's not even under the covers.
And Jean will put 2 and 2 together and say that he probably worked really hard to get all this done. So Jean wouldn't wake him.
So, okay.
So like if he started working at like 3 to 4, so it'd be like 9 by the time he's done, and an additional 8 hours, it would be about 5 o'clock in the evening. Since we're letting him take the long rest,
Right.
I think roughly,
Yes.
unless my math is off.
That would be correct. I am going to say yes, unless you are disturbed by this next encounter that I'm going to bring up. Then no. How does that sound? Because I don't know how it's gonna play out.
Unless you're disturbed by murder, you get a long rest.
Make a pinky promise, Jason.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. I have not clicked the long rest button. I'm only
Yeah.
down a couple hit points, and the only thing that would change is I think I would get 1 hit die back, because everything else we had taken a short rest, and I had all my features recoup on a short rest. So, but I would also get that point of exhaustion. So,
Yes.
yeah, let's just see how it plays out.
Yeah. So
the rest of us get the long rest then?
yes. You
Okay, perfect.
you would get the
I'll
long
just take
rest. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fel, while you're sleeping,
Of course.
I mean, come on, I'm getting everyone when they're sleeping.
Yeah.
You know that you're dreaming.
Oh shit, we didn't take the potion, damn it. Sorry, continue, Meg.
You know that you're dreaming. Because you are in the castle's like ramparts, you know, the wall around it, and you're on that hallway on top. You look
So like actually on the battlements, or like still inside?
on the battlements on top. You're out. You think you're outside. The world is black. The sky is dark and cloudy. Everything around you seems liminal in that dreamlike way where things just seem wrong. The air, you can't smell the air. It just doesn't seem real. You feel the battlement suddenly, the floor beneath you break apart, and you begin falling down, and you see all of these different pieces of stone falling with you. But suddenly everything stops, but in different places. You're standing on this broken piece of castle, and in front of you lies these jagged, disconnected pieces of stone. You see giant trees beside you begin to grow upward, their roots beginning to weave in and out of these stone parts, creating almost a walkway. The world around you, anything around you, is a black abyss. And ahead of you, at the end of this pathway that is formed, is a golden wolf. And the wolf sits there and it looks at you expectantly. Do you do anything?
kind of looks around again, kind of feeling the dreamlike quality of this. And she'll go up to the edge of the bridge, the tree bridge, and she's going to sit down on the opposite side of the wolf and just say, "So you're a vampire, right?"
The wolf doesn't respond, doesn't seem to have noticed that you said, or doesn't portray that it knows that you had said anything, but slowly it stands. And in, dogs, when they stretch, they lower their front and they raise their back, and it kind of stretches and it yawns.
Mm-hmm.
And it begins to walk towards you down this path.
And seeing the wolf approaching, Fel will very clumsily, for a half elf, though she does favor her human side a bit more, kind of stagger to her feet and sort of back up a little bit, her eyes widening. She will sort of begin the motions to conjure up a ball of fire, a firebolt spell or firebolt cantrip. Does it work here in this dream world?
I'm going to say that yes, you see the flame conjure up in your mind, but it is wrong. It is, instead of a fire, the blue fire that you normally have, it begins to grow these spidery black veins that circle around the fire, and soon the movement of the fire that usually has is replaced by these tendrils of black shadow.
She will immediately try to dismiss the spell, kind of in a panic, just like, oh shit, and just try to make it go away effectively. Does it work?
Yeah, it does so. It's almost like there's nothing else wrong with this spell other than just its appearance. It feels the same.
Gotcha. So she looks at the wolf, who I imagine is pretty close at this point. What color are its eyes, Megan?
Its eyes are a emerald green. Very human-like, and there's an intelligence behind it.
What do you want from me? I don't usually have wolf dreams.
In response, the wolf is now at your part of the stone, and it's going to turn away from you and head in a different direction. As it walks, new trees and branches begin to form, new parts of stone begin to crop up. As if every step it takes, a new part of another bridge begins to appear. And it looks back at you, and back at the path it's going, and back at you.
Out of curiosity, do the trees and the plant life, do they look healthy, or do they look corrupted or maybe even affected by those weird black tendrils?
Yeah, once you look at these trees a little bit closer, you can see that they are also infected with these tendrils.
Fel just makes a mental note to have to avoid drinking too much Vistani wine before bed next time, and then she follows in the wake of the wolf at probably like a 10 foot behind kind of distance, keeping a fair amount of space between her and this golden wolf, but she will follow.
The wolf keeps stepping along this bridge until you find yourself in a room. A room that you have no idea, you don't recognize it at all. Some sort of dining room.
Doesn't look like the dining room that she saw in that Strahd vision, did she?
No,
okay,
it
perfect.
doesn't. It looks different. The pictures, it looks similar in that it was a
dining hall.
A dining hall. But the pictures are different. There's no food on the table. It's barren. There's no one else in this room except for the wolf. It looks back at you, and it goes to a statue that is resting on a pedestal on one of the sides of this dining room. And you see that it moves this pedestal. You hear the scraping motion of stone on stone as this pedestal is moved. Quite easily, it looks like, as if it had been moved many times before or is on some sort of track. And as it does so, a hole, a wall, a door opens up in the walls of this dining hall.
Does it look like this hole leads back out into the darkness with the floating chunks of rock, or does it just lead to like a passageway?
It leads to stairs, a passageway going downward.
In for a copper, I guess, and she's going to follow the wolf down. Again, keeping that distance.
You follow the wolf down, and you see these crypts. You get down, and what looks to be crypts are very similar to the death house, but it doesn't. The doors don't have that spiraling infernal sigils that it did before. And it leads you down this long corridor. The corridor eventually begins to get darker and darker until you can't even see the wolf in front of you. You keep walking and you see a light at the end of this hall. But no wolf. The wolf is gone.
She'll walk at a bit of a faster clip towards the light. She's trying to be very careful with her footing to make sure she doesn't fall again like she did at the beginning of this dream.
You come to the end of the hall, and there is a tomb there. A coffin in stone, very nice, very well decorated. Some sort of very wealthy person was buried here. And as you look on the inscription of who is buried here, you see the word Daggerford.
She definitely steps back at that. She kind of looks around, feeling kind of like the first hint of that like fierce sweat starting to drip down her face in this dream. And then she will very, very gingerly just sort of kind of peer forward. Can she see a first name or just Daggerford, just the surname?
You do see the first name, and you recognize it. The first name is the name of your father.
Ulster Daggerford. So yeah, she definitely reels back from that. She's like, what the fuck? And then she looks behind her. Is it just darkness behind her at this point, just like it was when she originally moved forward through the hall?
Yes, it is darkness. You can't see anything. You don't even see the walls or the floor. It just kind of dissolves into this abyss.
So she takes a moment, again, feeling that fear just radiating through her. Obviously, she and her father don't have a great relationship, but I think she always pictured him as sort of this like immovable object that was always going to be there. And seeing this is 10 times, almost 10 times as terrifying as anything she's seen in Barovia so far. But she takes a moment, just a fucking dream. And then she reaches out and she will actually slowly start to open the coffin, just very, very gingerly.
You open the coffin and you see what you can only surmise is the decrepit, almost absolutely almost dissolved face of your father. Bones are sticking out, skin is ripped off. He lays there and his eyes suddenly open. He begins to sit up, and out of a croakiness from his voice, You should have killed me. Why didn't you kill me? And he gets up, he sits up, and he begins to crawl out of the coffin after you if you back away.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as he opened his eyes and started speaking, Fel just turned around and started running down this darkened hallway or whatever this is, just as fast as she can to get away from this, probably barely even hearing the words of her father's dream corpse.
And you hear the same thing over and over again. You left me. You left me. And you fall. And you have that sensation of hitting the bed as you wake up. And you are back in your room.
I'm assuming there's like a chamber pot or something in this room. Yeah, so she wakes up probably just drenched in sweat, gasping, and then she immediately runs over the chamber pot and just vomits profusely, just like, and then when she's done, she just sort of and she just sits there for a moment, and she'll just draw her knees up to her chest and just sort of sit in the corner for a moment. I imagine Lancelot's probably in her room somewhere. When she has calmed down somewhat, she will sort of walk over to him and just start running her hands through his fur, probably noticing, or no, they're in Eli's room, so she wouldn't see the silver dagger. Yeah, she will just sit in the room with Lancelot.
No, it's in your room.
Oh, it is in the room? Okay, perfect.
I put them in everybody's room.
Perfect. So yeah, she's sitting there, and I imagine she actually sees the glint of the silver dagger, maybe pushed under the door or something like that. But she makes no move to go towards it. She just sits on the bed with Lancelot, and then she just hugs him tightly and just sits there for a time, probably until someone comes in to rouse her and get her ready for the Baron's dinner.
Jean, you hear a knock at your door. Your night has been restless, almost sleepless. Visions of what has happened, those men, dead faces, a litany of nightmarish visions plague your dreams. You remember that you did not take that potion. And so you are plagued by this, and you might be even awake at this point when you hear a soft knocking at the door.
She kind of like grumbles a bit, groans from the lack of sleep. Yeah, one moment, please. And then she'll answer the door as she gets herself reasonable.
As you answer it, after a while, after you get ready, you would see a a young man, cloaked in the clothing of the monk, being a monk here. Pardon the intrusion. There is someone here to see you, all of you.
Thank you. Have you told the others?
I have not. Would you like me to?
No, don't worry. I will get them.
Very well. We request that you do this quite quickly. He's scaring off the patrons.
Of course. Thank you. And Jean would go to Corla's door first, kind of rap on it a bit, while also kind of like rapping on Fel's door. This is still like right as soon as Jean woke up, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, just those two.
Okay. Corla would answer very groggily and come with you to wake up Fel.
And I imagine when Fel hears the rapping or the knocking on her door, she would jump, probably scaring Lancelot a little bit, and then she'd just sort of start petting him again and say, it's fine, just a little little jumpy, that's all. A minute, and then she'll try to make herself look somewhat presentable, maybe wiping a little bit of leftover vomit off her mouth, and then she goes to the door, she kind of pulls the dagger out from beneath the door, tucks it into her belt, and she opens the door, probably looking a little haggard and tired. Yes. Are we going? What's going on?
Through the door, after rapping on it and you responding, Jean would say, "We have a visitor."
Oh, great.
And then as you open it, she'll look confused, like, and kind of like kind of flick her head over to where Eli's room is. We'll let him rest for this.
Yes. Let's do that.
It's a dwarf. He's a dwarf. Yeah. It's very loud.
Yeah. And actually, before she leaves the room, she'll just say, "One moment," and then she's going to hold the Vistani tree branch in her hands, concentrate for a moment, trying to push any thoughts of that horrible nightmare out of her mind, as almost look like these little black just motes of energy start to swirl around her as she casts mage armor on herself, though the motes eventually fade away. Right. Okay. Let's go. Visitor, you said? Did they say who he was or where he was from?
I did not get. It was a boy came to tell me. It was a boy, right?
Yeah.
Or was it a? Okay.
Like a teen.
Boy. Yeah.
Did it look like one of the monks?
The boy was. I don't know who the visitor is. It's beyond our best guard.
Right.
And she'll say that and kind of like imply a lot because she's not wearing her armor right now because she didn't have the time to get it on.
Do you want to go put your armor on?
We'll be fine.
Are you sure?
And she doesn't know whether it's true or not, but I think that he said to not be too. We mustn't waste his time.
I mean, I'm all for courtesy, but I mean, this place is dangerous. I mean, it's up to you. You do what you want.
Let's go.
Right. She sort of rubs at her eyes and then follows Jean out. I imagine Lancelot's kind of trotting behind.
As you start going down the steps, you hear this loud voice coming, and you hear this person before you see them. They are, and you know it's them based on the fact that they are very loud in this place of reprieve. And you hear this voice as you walk down and you're in view. You hear, hello, my friends. Welcome to Vallaki, where the fun never ends. I am Blinksy, the great toy maker.
Oh no.
And that is where we're gonna take a break.
Oh, nice.
So, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun listening to that. So, that was amazing. So we will be back in about 10 minutes. So we'll see you then.
Woo! God damn it, Jake.
All right, we're back. So, Jean, Fel, and Corla have walked down the stairs on the behest of a monk who had said that they had a visitor. And when they came down, they see this man. You have grown accustomed to seeing some of the outlandish dress in Valaki, the circus-like garb that many people wear. And this man is no different. He wears a jester costume that is a little bit tattered, a little bit worn, but it's the same red and blue, and even the buttons and the tips of this jester's hat are adorned with bells. And so even as he takes step after step, you hear the slight jingle of these different bells as he moves around. And in his hands, in his arms, are 4 of these dolls. Or at least you think that they are dolls. They're very crudely and poorly sewn, and they vaguely resemble all 4 of you, but in a very, very different way. There's something just off about them, but you're not sure whether it's the sewing or something else. And he says, my name is Blinksky, the great toy maker. Perhaps you have heard of me, and you have seen all of my toys that all the children love to play with. I am a very big deal around here, and it saddens me that you haven't come to my shop to purchase these fantastic toys and dolls that Blinksky has for you.
So Fel kind of looks from Blinsky to Jean to Corla, back to Blinsky, looks back at John, kind of arches an eyebrow.
And I think Jean would return a look of like, this is not what I expected.
So, do we? She sort of looks over at Blinsky. How is he, like, relatively close, or is he further into the church?
He's about in the middle of the church, which is saying how much his voice is carrying, because it is loud even where you are. And he's just standing there, smiling with these dolls in his hands.
So you wish us first to buy a toy?
Here, let's move closer to him. And so I'm assuming we walk forward and then talk to him.
No. You are guest, you see. You are guest of Alaki. And so you take these toys for free. But if you come across anyone who may want these toys, you tell them Blinsky made these.
Are these magical toys or just regular toys?
They're magical in that I've put my love and my affection into them. Do they not look like you? And he's going to hold one up and just kind of like jingle it in front of you, Fel. And it is just this odd looking one that looks oddly like you, except they are in the same jester's outfit that that this man is wearing. Or that Blinsky is wearing.
Blinsky, actually, I have heard of you. And she reaches into her bag and she pulls out the doll that Mad Mary gave us to help find her daughter Gertruda. Have you seen this girl recently? You made her this lovely toy and she left it behind, and I wanted to get it back to her. Have you seen her recently?
He looks at the doll and he kind of throws it up. If you give it to him, and he would take it.
She's just holding it out.
Oh, okay. He would reach out to grab it.
Sure. Just kind of awkwardly hand it over to him.
And he looks at it and he sees the tag that was attached to it. And he throws it up in the air.
We need...
You have shown me my worst work. How could you do that? That was the previous model. You see here on the tag. It says, it's no fun. It's no Blinksy. These are fun. These are Blinksy.
Could I have that back then?
You see now that it's landed on the ground.
Okay, yes. So she'll pick it up and put it back in her bag, and then look back to Jean and Corla. I mean,
We'll take your toys.
thank
you
you
for the gift.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this one. She knows how to make a toy maker feel so special.
That's Jean making toy makers feel special everywhere.
That is quite the me, yes.
that is me, yes.
And
go ahead.
This is quite nice handiwork.
Mm-hmm.
oh yes, I work very, very hard, very intensely for such guests such as yourselves.
It certainly shows. Thank you.
Maybe you would like to endorse Blinksky's toys to whoever you see. You are famous, no? You are new, you are...
I mean, I hope we aren't famous.
Oh, everyone has been talking about you.
Right.
Have you not heard the news?
I haven't. Share it with us, Blinsky. Clearly, you're just a font of information.
You... he points to Corla. He's like, oh, where is your friend? Your friend who was in the play. You two were sensational hits.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is talking about the performance that you put on and how beautiful it was.
Look at that, Corla. You're a celebrity. Good for you, I guess. Anything else? Just the wonderful performances our friends put on, or just that?
Well, and you're new. We don't have very many new people here, so of course everyone is going to be taking notice of you. Everyone's going to be looking at you. And what better way to promote your favorite toy maker, Blinksky, by touting around these toys? And he reaches into his bag. And he's like, and if it's not too much to add, he brings out these tunics. with Blinksky, but spelt with 2 Y's on it. I brought these for you to wear, if it is not too much trouble.
You know, Blinsky, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the others here, but, you know, me being a half-elf, I draw a bit of attention, you know, plus the red hair and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't want to distract from these lovely tunics. You know, they should be looking at the tunics, not the person in the tunic. So I'm going to pass, but thank you. I'll definitely take the doll. And she takes her little doll and just kind of shoves it in the bag. But, you know, Jean and Carla, maybe, you know, maybe.
Where is your friend? I would love to give them these. Hand give them.
Is Blinksky like offended by Fell's words? I'm able to make like an insight check to see if he didn't really kind of like that response, or does he?
Yeah, you can make me an insight check.
Yeah, because I've got a plan if he didn't like that answer. Ooh, I got a 16 plus 1, 17.
Nice.
Yeah, you can tell that he is hurt by
Yeah,
this.
so Jean will go to like kind of like hold out her hands to grab these tunics. You know, we'll take these. Our fourth is ill,
and
so when he comes to and is mindful, we'll discuss whether we'll do this. But of course, you know, we'll take these and talk with him about it.
Oh, you know what
Otherwise,
they say. Nothing...
we won't have an answer. We won't have an answer until he's a bit better. So
right,
okay.
Right.
Okay. Well,
Thank
you come by my shop.
Of
Absolutely.
Course. If we're passing by, we'll make sure to stop by.
Eli, I'm gonna need you to make another perception check because he is being very loud.
Oh,
all right, I will do that. Well, I had actually used just passive rules that it was minus, but I can roll. You want me to roll just straight?
Just straight, because you are also having a very bad sleep, so I would say.
None of us took the potion.
Let's see. So my perception's +2, and that is I rolled a 3, so that's a 5.
Just like your passive.
Yeah, you don't wake up during this.
Well, yeah, I guess I did want to roll low if I don't want to be woken up.
Okay, alright, I understand. But you know what they say? They say that there is no cure for any ailment like a Blinksy toy.
I have heard that. I
Oh,
believe
excellent, excellent. You can tell everyone else that.
You got it. Of course.
Right.
Will you accept some kind of payment? I mean, I know you said it was a gift. I don't want to upset you, but a small payment?
No.
Was that Blinksy hesitating or Megan?
I was gonna say, I was
hesitating?
like, is he about to murder me?
He pauses.
How dare you!
For a very, very long time. He pauses for a very long time until he's like, no. Baron said you get this as gift from Blinksy.
Garen?
The
Who's
Baron. The Baron.
Oh,
you know.
the Baron. Oh yes. Are you close with the Baron?
Oh yes, he is Blinksy's. He is Blinksy's best customer.
Really?
Yes, his guard buys all sorts of dolls from Blinksy. The same one. Hundreds
The same
of
one?
them.
What?
Yes.
What is that particular doll of?
Actually, I have one right here. I was just making a delivery. You know, making my rounds, I'm very busy. So he...
Of course. You're the famous Blinsky. Why wouldn't you be?
So he reaches into his pack and he brings out a doll. And I need you guys to make me a perception check, please.
Ooh, that's pretty good. 15.
That's gonna be a 17 for me.
Okay, Corla got a 3, so
Wake up, Corla.
She's asleep too.
She's gone, man. She was never there in the first place.
Jean, you see this doll and you recognize the features. This looks eerily like Irina. Very eerily. What did you get, Fel? Sorry?
15.
Okay, yes. You would notice this as well.
Huh.
What a beautiful doll that is.
Mm-hmm. And you say
Excellent craftsmanship.
You say that Sir Isaac Strahd has been buying a lot of these particular kinds of dolls.
Yes, hundreds of them, which is very, very good business for Blinksy.
Absolutely.
But your hand gets tired, you know, from trying to make the
from
same
the stitching,
stitch.
yeah. Of
Right.
course.
So I love to make doll for you because a different hand motion for different faces.
Absolutely, I can totally understand that. Did Sir Strosny say that he was buying all these dolls for somebody, or just like, Blinsky, make me these wonderful toys, and that was it? Or did he say who he was buying them for?
No, he did not say. You know him. He's not a chatterbox, as you say. He doesn't talk very much. He comes in, he buys, and then he leaves.
Bell's gonna make an inside check just to see if he's being legit here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a natural 1, so he clearly is, because
Sure.
he's the famous Blinsky, and why would he lie?
You're not sure that maybe he has the capacity to lie. He's just very, very open. But you're not sure, so.
Got you. Well, and she'll look over to Jean and Corla. Unless there's anything else, I mean, thank you so much for the gifts and
Very generous.
Yes, and the information. And we'll definitely talk to our sick friend about the tunic situation as
Are
well.
you sure I can't just go up quickly? I won't be loud. I'll sneak in.
No,
like
we
a
don't
mouse.
want you to get sick. We don't want you to get sick,
No, the
Oh.
miasma, it might get to you. Yeah.
Oh, that's very kind, very kind. Thank you. So, all right. But you stopped by. I want to see the great Eli himself.
Mm-hmm.
You stop by the shop. I'll give you discount.
Sure, I'm sure he will be
Oh, that
delighted
is-
to hear that.
That is so generous.
It is.
Right. You buy $2, you get one free. That's all Blinsky can do. Blinsky is very busy.
That's a fantastic deal, Blinsky. Thank you again. We will be sure to regale our companion with stories of this wonderful meeting.
Right. Don't forget he's like, he turns to leave, but he's still talking. And he starts to leave. He's still talking. Oh, don't forget about the tunics. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great evening. As soon as he's gone, Fel looks to the other two and just says, "What the flying shit was that?"
And Jean will kind of that doll looks eerily familiar.
It looked like Irina.
It did.
Is she around, out of curiosity, Megan?
Yes. Well, not in immediate vicinity, but her and the children went to another part of St. Andrew's Church where they keep some of the other children.
Should we go check on her just to be safe?
I think that would be wise.
Okay. If you want, I'll try and would we know that it's been enough time for Eli to get enough rest at this point, or
No, it's another few hours, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
We
thought
just
just at
woke
the
up.
end. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
cool.
another few hours.
Damn it. Right. Let's go check on Irina and the children, and then I guess we'll wait for Eli to wake up. And we go.
Exeunt scene.
Exeunt stage left.
So you go and you get to the orphanage that is a part of St. Andrew's Church, and you see there are quite a few children playing, and there's a couple of people, women who would you seem to look somewhat like nurses, just passing through, making sure that the children are you can see that they're happy. They don't have a lot, but they are well taken care of. That's immediately what you can see. Though the orphanage does seem a bit full. And you see amongst them Irina helping out the nurses with some care. I think right now she probably has a toddler on her lap, trying to comfort them.
All right. So Fel will sort of move toward her and just say, "Hello, Irina. How are you doing today, this day?"
Oh, hello. A long time no see. Yes, I'm doing much better, though.
Hasn't been that long, but continue.
Yeah, well, it's hard when you're going to a place where you know no one.
Right. No, I understand. I guess we just wanted to bring something to your attention. No need to get alarmed. Maybe we should go somewhere a little more private, just so we don't disturb the children.
You see this. You see Irina's brow furrow. She looks quite alarmed at what you say, but she puts down the child and follows you to where you want to go.
Do you want to maybe take her to one of our rooms there, Jean?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Fel will start walking. Fel will start walking to Jean's room, not her own room, and kind of gesture for Irina and Corla and Jean and everybody to go inside, inviting them into Jean's space.
So you go in, and after a while, Irina just, what is this about?
I don't know if you heard all the shouting that happened a few moments ago, but there was a toy maker, a local toy maker named Blinsky, who was in here. He wanted to give us some gifts, and she'll actually pull out the awkward, terrible little fell doll.
Oh,
So there's that. Yes, and she'll tuck it back into the bag. And he also wanted us to wear these tunics to advertise for his business. It was very strange. Anyway,
this wasn't the perturbing part.
No. The perturbing part is that he had also been commissioned numerous times to make dolls that looked like you. And they were being purchased by the Baron's second in command, the tiefling Sir Isaac Strasny, in great amounts. So, yes.
what?
Had your likeness to a spitting amount is.
I mean, not quite to a T, more like maybe to a Z or an X, but you know.
Very, very perturbing.
Her eyes grow wide.
Mm-hmm.
He has been visiting me quite a lot.
You what? Sir Strasny has been visiting you?
Yes, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Only for a few moments.
He's the Baron's. He's the captain of the Baron's guard. Why didn't you say something?
I didn't think it. I didn't think it strange until now. We had met him on the road.
Did he? When you met before, what did he say to you?
Well, at first he was just wondering how I was doing, and how I was getting used to Valaki. And yeah, it was all just very casual. He did ask quite a few questions about you.
Oh.
All of you. But I didn't say anything. I'm not an idiot.
No, and we're not suggesting you are. It's just that's something that we should definitely be kept aware of, because that is very disturbing that Blinsky is suddenly getting all these commissions, or has been getting commissions to have dolls made in your likeness. Maybe don't talk to him again. Like, I don't want to forbid you from doing anything, but at the same time, it seems like it might be wise, to be honest.
Yeah, I had no idea. And you can see that she is visibly just very uncomfortable about hearing that.
I mean, I'm sure as long as you stay in the church, you'll be safe. And again, this is a temporary solution. Once we figure out how we're going to deal with the Strahd problem, it'll be fine. But
if anything does come up, Jean will say to her, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Please.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. He just seemed nice.
Did he come by himself?
Yes, always by himself.
Any particular time of day, or is it just whenever he happens to bump into you?
Well, I haven't left the church. I don't know, usually around midday, I guess.
Has he visited you today?
No. She kind of pauses. No, that's a little odd. This would be around the time when he would come.
Belle just sort of looks over to Jean and Corla. All right. Unless you two have anything else, Irina, maybe, just obviously do what you've been doing. Stay with the children. Maybe don't go near any doors or windows. This is terrible advice. And then we should definitely go talk to Eli.
Should I tell some of the brothers?
Belle will look to Jean. I mean, that might not be a terrible idea.
May not also be the wisest, for who knows how many fingers the chief of the guard has in this town.
Go ahead.
Perhaps others may be more sympathetic to his, or at least may not be appreciative of words against the captain of the guard. As residents here, perhaps.
What about Father Petrovich? What about Father Lucian? Maybe talk to him, Irina, since he does preside over the church. He's been very kind to us so far, with really very little reason to be. Maybe he and he'll potentially know who to trust with that information, since he knows the brothers better than us, obviously.
That'd be the best.
Yes, he's been very, very kind to me. I will tell him.
Seems like a good man. All right. Do you need anything? I mean, I know this must be a bit tedious being stuck inside all the time, but like books, something to draw with. I don't know.
The children do keep me quite busy, and I'm glad I found something to do. And it's
like a little wine. Do you like just a little bit of wine? Is that?
It's great. I haven't had a nightmare since coming here.
Have you been taking Brother Gregory's potions?
Of course, every day.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And it's just so relieving to get a full night's rest without...
Absolutely.
You know who.
Yes. That's very true.
And she just...
She
looks to you all and she says, thank you. Really. You saved me when no one else would.
You're welcome. Would do it again in a heartbeat.
Can I make one request from you? When you
Sure.
get the time,
yeah,
would you check on my brother? Tell him I'm okay.
Sure. I mean,
I know you're busy.
No. It's just figuring out. I mean, we'd have to obviously go back to the village, which is a little ways away. But maybe, I mean, we may be leaving Valaki at some point. Well, we can cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess. Sure. We will do our best.
Any way you can. Just send a message to him.
That's true. Could always. Do they have couriers here? Is that a thing?
No. No.
I mean, like carrier pigeons, birds.
It was hard enough.
Carrier bats.
Carrier orphans.
The only people that you know of that go to and from the city are the Vistani.
Yeah. We'll figure something out, Irina. Glad to hear that you're doing well, though, and that it's not as boring as you may have feared.
Thank you. And I will let you know next time something happens.
Thank you.
Just keep your wits about you. I don't want to be alarmed by strange news.
Yeah, that is quite alarming.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's go wake up Eli, and then we need to figure out what we're doing, because we have a dinner tonight, apparently.
Surely he needs more rest. Did you see what he did?
Yes, I did. And she looks down to the silver dagger tucked into her belt. I mean,
he's sleeping so sound. I didn't get a blink of sleep last night. I almost envy that man.
Yeah. By the gods. Right. Should we do anything to prepare for this evening?
I think with that, you see, Jean, this is the same young monk who had knocked on your door the last time. Sorry to bother you again, but there is someone else here for you.
What does this person look like?
A young boy.
A clown? Oh.
A young boy with a large box. He says he has a message from the Vixen.
Okay.
Not sure who that is, but it's...
Yes,
Let's go check that out.
Very confusing. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
So we're not used to getting so many visitors. Sorry. I hope it's not disrupting the church's day-to-day proceedings.
No. Lucian, he understands, and he's gonna go. Turn to leave. Do you go downstairs or?
What the fuck? Yes, we do.
All right, let's do this.
Hopefully there are no more visitors after this one.
Megan just fills out the time with visitors.
Yeah, right.
Wisely.
Every hour on the hour, visitors. Strahd shows up. Hello, everyone.
So we measure time here is by number of
Visitors.
Yeah.
It's about 3 visitors past noon.
So you go downstairs and you see in the entranceway this very young boy, probably around 9 or 10. He is dressed in not ratty clothes, but probably hand-me-downs, few holes in them. His hair is dreadlocked, and inside the dreads you can see woven in are raven feathers. And he holds this giant box that just seems comically large for him. And he sees, do both of you go down? I think Corla will stay up, but
No, come on. She's a very important part of this. No, it's good. Yeah, I imagine so.
So you go down and he just I have a message for you.
Okay.
The vixen says that you are to wear these tonight for dinner.
Are they not? Are they more tunics? Are we going to be advertising for her as well? This person we don't know.
Do you open the box or do you look in?
So we'll look at Jean, just sort of narrow her
at least
eyes.
take the box off of the kid's hands because
Yeah.
it seems pretty heavy or at least bulky.
Mm-hmm.
She'll at least take it because she can probably wield the girth a bit easier than the kid can.
Why don't you open it up, Jean?
She'll kind of like crack open one of the foldings of the box.
You see in it are actually very nicely tailored finery, like fine clothes.
That's it.
All different
Just-
colors and shapes and makes and fabrics, but they are all very, very expensive, but very lovely.
The dress is for us.
Wonderful. Do any of them have lace? She just sort of starts kicking around inside the box. Thank you, young man, I guess, and I guess thank your patron, mistress, whatever.
The vixen said it is of the utmost importance that you wear these.
Did she specify why?
No. Something about you have to look your best for dinner? I'm not sure.
All right, makes sense, I guess.
Thank you, young one.
Yes.
You can go.
Oh,
Do you want a tip? Do you want a tip? I mean, I could if you. Is that?
You see the kid.
Don't tip the errand boy. He's just a boy. He doesn't need the money.
Quit trying to pay
Who tips
people,
a
Phil. He originally shakes his head, but you
According
can see.
to Wikipedia,
Hello?
all textile material that is produced by
According to Wikipedia, you should always tip the dress delivery boy.
My Google assistant looked up the word.
What word?
It looked up
Google.
felt.
Google. Felt.
What is
Damn it, Google.
Trying to be helpful.
Trying to be helpful.
Just
Like,
helpful
you're-
Google.
Felt is a fabric.
According to Wikipedia,
Yeah, I was like, according to Wikipedia, this is what felt is. Sorry.
That's what my character is, just a half elf made of felt. Hi, I'm Felt. But you can call me Fel.
Oh my god. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so yes. So the boy, he looks at the money. He originally shakes his head, but you can see that he is looking like he would like it. So
Here, and she'll actually hand him a gold.
he nods. Thank you very much, and he's going to turn and leave.
You're welcome. And then she'll look to Jean and just say, maybe we don't put these on just yet. And she's just going to do like a general, I guess it'd be more of an investigation check. Any kind of like oddities or weird things about these dresses. I mean, they're obviously very expensive, very well made, but like any runes, any like weird textures, or I don't know. I'm thinking like poison garments or something. I don't fucking know.
Sean's having similar thing. She's gonna look around like
Yeah.
the where the collars are, where their mouths might be some kind of powder on them. She's gonna assume this is an assassination attempt at the worst. Just like you can never be too certain.
Yeah, both of you make me investigation, please.
17.
Ooh, I got something lower than a 17, but not too bad. A 13.
So Fel, Jean, you don't notice anything different. Fel, you notice that in all of the garments, if you look through all of them, there's something sewn into the garment. You can't really tell what it is. It's very, very flat, almost paper-like, but thicker than paper. And it's this little patch that you find sewn in between.
We need to take these somewhere. Maybe back to your room, Jean. Why not? Since we're letting Eli sleep for a bit, which is probably a good idea.
It's the farthest room from the snoring, so that makes sense.
That's fair. But yes, and she'll lower her voice. I think there might be something sewn into these garments, so let's get somewhere private and take a look.
I'm not sure if you have the senses for this. Do you detect anything sorcerous about them? Any enchantments on them?
Oh,
I worked with a court wizard who could do such things. Will smell the magic in the air.
I mean, to be honest, let's walk and talk. My gifts, such as they are, they came to me fairly recently. I'm still trying to figure them out. A lot of it's very emotion or feeling based, honestly. But once we maybe see what's inside the dresses, I could try, or the garments, I could try and make some kind of check based on what I know. Make some kind of examination.
You didn't study for it, no. I thought you were the studious type.
I mean, I do read, and I have read a fair amount of arcane lore. It's just that's not how these gifts came to me, so to speak. It just sort of happened when I came here, actually. Anyway, thoughts for another time.
This place changes people.
Clearly.
And so I think that we're in the room now.
Yeah. So Fel will take her silver dagger and just sort of make a very small cut into one of the dresses, or one of the garments, whatever, around the little flat area, and just see if she can maybe get like an idea of what this thing is made out of. Is it just a piece of paper? Is it like a little chip of stone? What is this basically that's in here? Without actually tearing the dress or garment or whatever apart.
Right. So actually, I think Eli. I think around this time it's been a few hours since you have gone to the orphanage and come back and talked with Blinksy. It's been a bit.
You stop snoring.
Oh shit.
It's good news, right?
It is good news. All right.
You just hear a apparently Eli has sleep apnea.
But yeah, what does this little flat thing look like?
I think Corla would offer to go in and get him and bring him, get Eli and bring him in. So he would
Thank
do
you,
that.
Corla.
So meanwhile, you do this and you see that it is in fact you take it open and you rip the fabric and you indeed see that it is a very thin piece of stone with inscriptions on it. And I'll need you to make a Arcana check to see if you can.
All right, let's see. Well, that's not great. That is an 11.
You know it's arcane. You know maybe even it's some sort of spell. But the runes are not in your language and you can't really discern what they're saying.
Jean worked with some wizards and against some wizards as well. She has a cursory knowledge of arcane, as she does have proficiency in it, which she will kind of like make a roll as well. She got a total of 18.
Ooh.
19, excuse me, 19.
So you would recognize this spell. Maybe you've seen it on the body of a wizard or something like that. But you know that this has a mate, this stone, and whoever has this other stone may teleport.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll say this is some kind of like beacon. This is some kind of beacon. It's paired with another, and if I'm reading this part of it right, goodness, I wish I had Flint with us right now. It would be looks like teleportation. It would conjure up the other wielder of the stone, or multiple. That's what I'm hazarding, I guess, here.
So it brings the person that has the other stone to the wearer of the garment, or the other way around?
I think it makes more sense for us to be wearing the clothes, and I don't imagine us being whisked away is of much use. So I think it might be the former.
All right. Do you have any idea how to activate them, or how to empower them, make the enchantment work?
With that
I
roll,
believe it's
Jean,
passive. Yeah.
with that roll, Jean, I would say that you would know that this piece has no. It's simply a receiver. So it's for the person who actually has the other thing that where the power comes from.
This is nothing in and of itself, I believe. Just a little marker, a receiver, if you will.
All right. That makes sense. So I guess the idea is maybe we get into the Baron's home, and then they teleport in potentially. I'm not.
It seems like we're opening the door for them.
The only thing is, I'm not entirely sure how they'll be able to tell when we're in an advantageous position. Unless maybe they have spies, maybe like the child that delivered these.
I don't know much about were people, but you see the feathers in that boy, his hair. Perhaps he's a were bird or something watching us.
It could be. I mean, the only thing is it depends on how, I guess, bestial they become when they change. I mean, it sounds like because they haven't done it in a while, she used the dam analogy. I don't know how in control they would be, but who knows? I guess a little awkward having a piece of magic on your person that you don't fully understand, but I'm not entirely sure we have much of a choice, really.
It's certainly not some kind of trap meant for us, it seems. It seems like part of their plan.
True.
We did make our terms with them, and it seems that they're following along with it. I can only assume that they're agreeing to those terms.
Hopefully that's what that means. Maybe we should tell Eli about this when Carla gets back with him. In fact, we should definitely tell Eli about this when Carla gets back with him.
Of course, and about the tunics too. And John will kind of give a little wink to that.
I think he looked nice in like a red or like a brown, I think.
I think he could wear both of the tunics, one around his waist and one around his shoulders.
Maybe? It's a weird fashion statement there, Jean.
I think by this point, Corla has come in with Eli.
Good evening. How are you?
So, am I to assume I didn't get my full sleep?
You did. You
Oh, I
absolutely did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, this visitor came later.
It's 2 visitors past, man. You're
Yeah.
fine.
So, yeah, my thing was if you guys had gotten Eli when Blinksy had come, then he would
Then we would have interrupted the rest. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
All right. I've had my mouse hovering over the long rest button
Yes.
and intermittently moving to the
Short rest button.
to the conditions for exhaustion.
Mhm.
So, all right, yeah. What time? What? I almost forgot what accent.
What time is it?
What time is
it? I do
What
not
time?
know. We are
It is
all
too
Corla.
time. Blah, blah, blah.
What time is it?
Around what time
It's late.
is there, Megan?
It's
Looks
late.
like it's. Whew, guess I slept a day away.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like in the evening.
Probably about five hours past, something like that.
I see y'all got your items. Good.
Thank you for those.
What'd I miss?
Quite a bit.
Corliss said we had some visitors.
2 visitors were very popular. You're famous apparently for what happened in the tent. but there was a toy maker that showed up, and she'll actually, I imagine she probably took the toy for Eli. She'll kind of hand him the Blinsky toy of himself. So there's that. More disturbingly,
there's absolutely nothing creepy about this.
No, not at all. Even creepier, he's been making numerous dolls that resemble our good friend Irina for the Baron's captain of the guard, who has apparently been seeing her occasionally. So we talked to her about that already. She's going to tell us if something like that happens again. Very disturbing. And
seeing each other like I see you over there, or seeing each other like they're,
man, you need a drink or something. No, Eli, as in actually, I know, as in like actually running into each other. That's true. We should have some wine, some pre-dinner wine.
Wet your palates with a bit of wine.
Yes. But yes, so they've been bumping into each other. Apparently he's been asking questions about us and about her, of course, but also about us. But she's managed to keep, I guess, the most sensitive pieces of information away from him. So that's good. We also have these, and she'll gesture towards the crate full of fancy clothes for the dinner tonight.
Fancy clothes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
With something special inside, John, if you want to explain, since you figured it out.
These are tablets, and she'll kind of she'll pull out the one that we've uncovered. They do nothing by themselves, but the runic inscriptions here, they're designed and made to allow some other wielder of a partnered stone to be conjured up to our positions, if they so will to be. These came from the Vixen.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine we are the keys for her.
You're seeing that these are connected to another device, though this doesn't have the power itself.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
What if it's not for them to be brought to us, but maybe as a way of getting us out of there?
I mean, Jean seemed fairly certain that they would bring them to us, but I mean, that could be as well.
I could be wrong. I'm no mage myself.
I'm more likely the wrong one here. These arcane abilities, such as you and Fel have access to, are a bit outside of what I'm used to.
Magic is weird. Exciting, but weird.
All right, so we're supposed to wear these to go look all nice and dapper for the go in there like some fancy ladies and dandy.
Oh, I don't think you're cut out to be a dandy, Eli.
We could try. You could try on one of the dresses, perhaps, if you'd wish.
It doesn't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's times I'm envious of the freedom of movement that a dress or a skirt provides, but
I mean, there are other things like you don't have to worry about.
It's quite restrictive. I don't
makeup
know what fantasies
and
you're thinking. Trip over it.
But I think I'll stick with this here.
Accurate. But anyway, so I guess we just
3 guys describing what it's like.
Yes, we are on this. 2020, baby, breaking gender norms.
Do tell me
how hard this is. Breaking down gender norms.
Megan's like, oh, he's not wrong.
Oh, all right. So give me a minute. I want to take a look at. Do we have the arena doll?
I
No.
don't.
No, we didn't take one.
No,
Okay.
No.
But we have the ones that the
Look
one
like
you
us.
gave me of
Right.
me, and I'm going to take a look at them.
Okay.
As a bit of a tinkerer, I want to kind of. I don't know what kind of role you want with that, but I just want to.
Are you just looking?
Kind of just look over the. I'm trying to determine. 1, I'm just looking at the craftsmanship of it, and 2, trying to see if there's anything I know a lot of crafters and tinkerers and toy makers will often do have the ability sometimes, depending on the level of their craft, to hide things inside things, leave marks, stuff like that. So I'm
Hmm.
kind of just looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Sure. Give me an investigation.
Well, that's going to be a 16 on the die for a 16.
You look at it and you do notice something that is quite odd. Despite the shoddy nature, how it looks originally of at these toys, you actually see that it's quite well crafted, almost as if the nature of the toys is done on purpose, making them look weird and off-putting. But other than that, you can't find anything hidden. Other than you do find carved in is a bee, you assume for Blinksy.
So, weird idea, but why not? These are weird dolls. Should we cut one of them open? Just to see what's inside?
So before you go doing that, I just want to see something. I'm gonna check this on my own, just to be sure. And I'm going to pull out a dagger,
Hmm.
and I'm going to gently press the tip of the dagger into um the palm of the left hand of the one that looks like me. Does anything happen?
You feel wood, or you feel the pushback of the palm of your knife, or against your knife. That's it.
All right. Well, sorry. There's down further south from where I'm from, way further south beyond the Horn of Cormier. There's this far off jungle land, and I've heard of tribes of people that make these bizarre things that I don't remember what they call them, but they're these sort of like this. They made their effigies made to look like another person, and you supposedly can do harm to this effigy and cause harm to the person.
Hmm.
So I just thought if you want to go poke it, pulling the insides out of one of these, maybe we'll just make sure it's not got that kind of weirdness to it.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think you're talking about Chult, right? I've read a book or two about Chult, about the
Yeah,
large
I think that
lizard.
was called. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
some people that passed through
Mm-hmm.
on their way to uh that direction, but yeah, I've never been down there. It's more just hearing tales from that place.
Makes sense. Um, if you mean if you don't want to open up yours, I could open up mine.
No, I just poked it in the hand and it didn't hurt. So
All right. Well, go for it. Let's see what's inside, if anything.
all right, I got my dagger out already, so I guess I'll but I'm not gonna just crudely like cut into this thing. I'm gonna look for any seams or um anything like that, and kind of use the dagger like a seam ripper, and try to carefully open it in a way that it could be put back together
Yeah,
and see what's on the inside.
I would say because of your craftsmanship, you're easily able to find seams. Undo the little wooden pegs, and you go inside, and you open up this toy, and you do not see anything inside except for wood and normal toy stuff.
I would imagine, given what you told me from the earlier check, um, that pulling it open almost seems to confirm my earlier suspicion that these are actually very well crafted items. They're put together very well, but made to look like they're in this poor condition. And I think unless I destroyed anything, I would try to sort of press the pieces back together and being very kind of having it open, seeing how it all goes together, and just sort of, I don't know, it just, we may just being a bit overly thinking this stuff, and maybe this is just a friendly toy maker that's trying to make a buck off our likeness. If we've shown our faces around a bit, Corla and I performing back there. And that said, I think I'm gonna not necessarily carry this on my person. I'm gonna put that in my rucksack.
It's probably a good idea. Do you mind if I do the same?
No, absolutely. If any of you would prefer, I can put all of them. Unless you have a special reason to hold on to it, I can put them in there.
Feels strange looking at myself. Wait.
It's not really a very good likeness, honestly.
It's missing the chest thing, which I don't know if it's a boon or a bane.
Fair enough.
Maybe it's a sign that your secret's safe still, though.
That's very true.
It's quite true.
So unless anybody objects, I'll take all the toys and put them in my chest. So I guess I'll make a note of that.
Yep. Sounds
Weird
good.
toys.
4 sackcloth toys
under other possessions.
Yeah.
Well, you said that on there it was spelled with a Y on the on
Two Ys.
Right, but instead of BLI, it's BLYS or yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Blinsky.
Blinsky.
I was imagining 2 Ys at the end, just like Blinsky.
Blinsky.
So yeah. And then do you guys head out?
Yeah.
Did he give us a toy of Lancelot? So, did anybody ask that?
He did not.
Okay. No, he knew better. Right. So I guess let's get all dressed up and then we'll head out. Yes.
So this is important then. And I think before we do this, I would discuss with the others. Given that we are to don these particular duds, that means that we are not going to be wearing our typical armors, and I don't think it's a good idea to go walking into the Barrens wearing my big old wooden chest rucksack with dangling with arms and armaments. But I don't think it would be untoward if we were to wear a sword belt or some such thing. So I would just say keep that in mind as you're getting dressed, that you may want to at least have a weapon at hand.
Right.
Perhaps it wouldn't be untoward for you as a man, but for us ladies, it'd be a very strange sight to see.
Yeah, probably.
With the sword belts.
Yeah.
I'll be strapping a dagger to my leg, I guess.
You can probably slip one inside. I mean, are there shoes in here? Are there shoes in there, Megan?
There are. Actually.
Yeah.
My gods.
You find a hidden dagger hilt that you can strap to your leg.
This is, I have to admit, I'm a little impressed. The Vixen really did think of everything. I think that's a great idea, Jean.
So I imagine that my outfit is sort of a bit of the like the pantaloons or whatever you call them, the knickers almost with the high socks, and there's a jacket that probably has tails, maybe a cummerbund. I'm going to wear my belt under the cummerbund. And a while back, I had fashioned a holster out of leather for righteous indignation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to attach the holster to the belt and slide it around to the back.
Okay.
And then I will just have the actually, given what we're doing, I think I'm going to slip I'm gonna slip 5 of the silver bullets into my pocket as well, and make a mental note. I need to make a proper gun belt so I can slot these in there. But yeah, I'm gonna have 6. Well, I guess it'd be 5. I have half of them, but I have a full load of 6 rounds, and then yeah.
Nice. So, once you guys are all suited up, you begin your journey to the Baron's place for dinner. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and thank you to my players for an amazing session full of everything. There were laughs, there were crying,
Snoring.
there was snoring, there was romance, like there was everything in one in one session. So thank you all for that. And next week we will have Karen back. Unfortunately, she could not join us. Unfortunately,
You mean 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
right?
sorry, 2 weeks. That's what
I was like,
meant.
if we're playing next week, great,
No.
but
Sorry. Yes, 2 weeks
No,
from now.
I get Karen next week.
Yeah. 2 weeks from next session is what I meant. We will have Karen back, and we will continue from there. So I'm very excited, and thank you. So we will see you next time. Have a good night, everyone.